What's going on, people? Welcome to another episode of the Mike Roach podcast, brought to you by the one and only OXP Media and the Battle Canada series. Guys, I got an awesome show here. Great guest. Jaden Lindo, Canadian hockey player, currently playing for the Queens Gales men's hockey team. Jaden, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on the podcast. Been looking forward to getting on it. I'm really excited.
Now, you're a hockey player, man. You've been playing hockey for a very long time. We're sitting in the middle of a pandemic. Do you even know what to do with yourself at this point? Like, have you ever had this much time off, ever?
Honestly, this is the first time probably in about 20 years where I feel like my life's actually, changed. Like, I'm missing a whole piece of my life. Because usually, we're on the ice, 6 times a week. We're working out. And now with the pandemic, unfortunately, our season got canceled back in the fall, but we were still practicing in the first semester and still having workouts. But ever since the lockdowns, things are always changing, fluctuating, like the lockdowns, and then when things are opening up. So I've had a lot of free time on my hands and almost too much to know what to do with it. I feel like I've probably become a bit lazier than I'd like to.
Well, what do you do? What do you do in your free time anyway?
Honestly, I've been watching a lot of basketball.
Really? Basketball?
I really enjoy watching basketball.
Who's your favorite player?
I've been a LeBron James. I've been a LeBron James fan for probably about 10, 12 years. People might think I'm a bandwagoner. I probably am, but I'm more of a LeBron James fan than I am wherever team he's on. So when he was in Cleveland, I cheer for LeBron. When he went to Miami, and now I cheer for the Lakers. But yeah, he's just not even it's an in sport kind of things too. But the person he is outside of the game too, who he's become, the ambassador that he's become, the things he does for the community. He's just such a big icon in the world, and it's just crazy how he's able to accomplish so much, both on sport and on the court and off the court. So I just find him an inspiring person, and I love watching him play. So yeah, I've been a LeBron James fan for the last little bit. So I've been watching a lot of basketball.
So tell me about how you got your start in hockey, and what drove you towards wanting to play hockey in the first place.
Yeah, so I think when I talked to my mom about it, I think she just said that I kept watching hockey on TV, and I just kept telling them I want to play hockey. And they started putting me in a couple sports. I played a bit of soccer, basketball. I hated basketball when I was a kid. I remember they put me in a basketball camp, and they made us run suicides, and I started crying because I just hated running.
Oh man,
that was the last time I played basketball in school, but it just wasn't for me. And then tried hockey, and I ended up falling in love. And yeah, it just took off from there. Maybe it's because I always thought it was probably because you could move on the ice without actually having to skate. You just glide, so it's a bit easier. In basketball or soccer, if you stop moving your feet, then you stop moving. We can glide a little bit out there, so I don't know. Maybe I was just a lazy kid.
Now, how long was it before you actually realized that you were going to be a very good player?
I think ever since I started playing hockey, I wanted to play in the NHL. I wouldn't say I was a great hockey player when I grew up, or when I first started playing. I could barely even stop on the ice. I wasn't a great skater. I wasn't a skilled player or anything. But a lot of how I developed as a hockey player was I just want to be the hardest working player out there, and I want to do what everyone else wasn't doing. So whether that was on the ice, whether that was off the ice, behind the scenes, whether you're working on your skill or your craft at home, I just kept working on the game because all I wanted to do was play hockey. And I started off in lower levels before moving up to AAA and rep, and then I got recruited to at the time it was potentially probably the best minor hockey team in North America. We had the Toronto Marlboros. We had guys like Connor McDavid on our team. Everyone knows who that is.
What was it like playing with him?
It was easy. It was easy. It was definitely. I was more of like a power forward kind of guy, so he kind of did all the skilled moves, and I kind of just parked myself in front of the net and make sure I had my stick on the ice so I could just tap in the goals. But yeah, he's a great player. It was a lot. It was really easy. We had guys like him, Joshua Hosang, Sam Bennett, another NHL player, Roland McEwen, another guy in the NHL. So it was a great team that we had back then. And then things just kept propelling forward. Got drafted to the OHL. Played for Team Ontario under 17, went to Team Canada under 18 camp. Didn't make the team, but to be invited, that was even still impressive for me, and I was happy about that. Got drafted to the NHL. Things didn't work out with that, and now I'm at Queen's University, where we won a championship, an Ontario University championship 2 years ago. One of the highlights of my life. So looking back on my hockey career, definitely a long journey, but definitely worth it, and a lot of memories were taken from it.
What was it like for you growing up in your household?
It was great. I was fortunate to have two loving parents who they believed in me and provided me all the opportunity that every opportunity that they could possibly provide for me and my sister. They supported both of us in everything we did, whether it was in school, whether it was in hockey. My sister played basketball, and then whether it was even like piano, like I played piano growing up. They were very supportive. Can't appreciate everything that they've done for me, and learned a lot from them, and things that I'll definitely take into when I have a family, and obviously qualities I want to have in my kids too. So yeah, definitely fortunate for everything that they've done.
What's your most memorable time being on the ice, whether it be something that happened during a game, practice? It has to be during a game or a big game or something. Like, what's something that sticks out, pops out in your mind the most when you look back on all the accomplishments that you've had in your career thus far?
Yeah, I've had a lot of great moments, whether it was like scoring my first OHL goal in Windsor. My dad's family's from Windsor, and I had a bunch of family down there for that. I don't know, was Ashley there for that? She might have been.
Probably.
She might have came down for that home opener game. I scored the first goal, or my first OHL goal. That was definitely special. There's like a lot of things, like playing for Team Jamaica. That was definitely special.
What was that like? Let's get into that for a second. Now, tell me, how did that come about, first of all, and who gave you the call for that?
Yeah, so Jamaica's been working towards putting together a hockey team that will hopefully one day compete in the Olympics. So it's been in the works for probably about like almost 10 years now. And that wasn't the first time I played with them. I played with them in Halifax. We did a little tournament against under 20 Nova Scotia team. And so this was the actual first time that Jamaica competed in a men's international tournament. So it's called the Latham Cup, and it was basically a lot of like smaller countries that haven't established themselves as, like aren't known for being hockey countries. So it's like Argentina, Brazil, Mexico, countries that are up and developing and want to like hopefully compete in the international stage. So yeah, it was down in Florida, and it was unbelievable. It was so much fun. We had a great team. We ended up winning against Colombia in the finals in shootout.
Wow.
And there was a lot of fans there too. Like I think it was I can't remember the city, but it was one of the highest. I want to say one of the highest. There was a lot of Jamaicans in that city that are known to be in that city. So we had a lot of support come out.
That must have felt amazing then. That must have felt amazing. Come on.
It was crazy. And like we had like buses, like food trucks, providing us food. Like people just wanted to keep supporting us. We had NHL Network was down there. It was crazy. And then even after the fact, like it blew up more than we thought it was. Like, there's talks about, obviously for us to compete in the Olympics, you need to have a rink built in Jamaica. So definitely that's in the talks. And then so I was the captain of the team, and the co-captain, Tegan Moore, Jamaica took us down to Jamaica for a weekend, and we got to meet the Jamaica Olympic Association president. We got to meet the Minister of Sport, Culture, and Entertainment in Jamaica. So yeah, we're definitely treated really well. Don Anderson took us out there. He is the former vice president of the Jamaica Olympic Association. So yeah, it was a great experience, and really looking forward to see what happens next with that.
Tell me a little bit about your dad. I know he does an extremely important job in the GTA. I know he's been really supportive to your career. Tell us a little bit about him and some of the things that he's taught you that stick out in your mind, that help you right now in your life. Maybe that's something you didn't understand when you were younger, but you're grasping it a little bit more now, and why he's told you these things.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know my dad, he's an amazing guy. He's well known around the community. Everyone likes him, and he just has a great heart. My dad, he's probably the hardest working guy that I've ever met. Everything he does is for the family in mind, and like I said, I can't appreciate everything that he's done for both me and my sister and my mom. The biggest thing was work ethic, and that's taken me from day one to where I am now. Like I've never been the most skilled or talented person in anything that I do, but I've arguably always been the hardest worker. And like I said, whether that's been in school, whether that's been in hockey, whatever I do, I know I need to put my best effort forward, and the results have shown for me. Things that I wasn't expected to excel in for whatever reason due to my work ethic. It's definitely a tribute that's gotten me to a lot of places that I wouldn't have imagined. And it's definitely opened up a lot of doors. And I definitely think that's a valuable trait that, everyone should have.
Tell us something about you that most people don't know.
Most people don't know. Huh. Yeah, putting me on the spot here. You're going to have to make me think about that a little bit.
Yeah, we can come back to that. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But, I've known you a long time, wife of my cousin. I've seen you since you were a little kid at this point. I want to know, you're always in a good mood. Spirits are always high all the time. When I see you, you always have a smile on your face. What do you think, what keeps you inspired? What keeps you so humble and inspired every morning? What keeps you working hard?
Can't take anything for granted, man. Especially like the last year has been difficult with the whole pandemic, and obviously everyone's had a tough time with everything that's going on in their lives. And everyone has individual issues that they're going through, and you really just can't take anything for granted. Like you really have to live every day to the fullest, because you never know when it's all gone. Life's short, and that's one thing that I've started realizing, especially this year with the whole pandemic. You don't get to see your family, you don't get to see your friends. You really got to keep those people who are important to you close, and you really got to, enjoy every moment you can spend with them. And that's one of the things, like, I think more than ever, I've been starting to find that balance between work ethic and, enjoying life. Like I almost feel like there's almost two different spectrums where people enjoy life too much and they don't really care about their future.
What do you mean? Like, break that down. What do you mean when you say that?
So when I talk about like work ethic, some people might work 60, 80 hours a week. And if that's what you want to do, that's completely fine. But at the same time, I feel like you almost have to enjoy life at the same time. Mm-hmm. Like it can't be all work, it can't be all play. You got to have a nice balance, because you also have to imagine or remember that you're in the present as well. You can't plan so much for the future. You can't also not plan for the future. You have to enjoy where you are right now. And that's what I kind of mean about how appreciating everything that you have at this moment at the same time, while also preparing for the future. Not saying that's not important, but you also have to enjoy the moment that you're in right now. And that doesn't mean you still can't work hard. That doesn't mean that you still can't take breaks. But you also have to appreciate everything that you've been given. And sometimes you need to look back and see that all you've accomplished, and be proud of what you've accomplished at this point. So that's something that I've kind of realized. I've always been one to kind of, prepare for the future, set myself up for the best opportunities. I want to be able to provide my family the best opportunity and, make people proud. But at the same time, there's always going to be a future. You also have to enjoy the moments you're at. So when spending time with those loved ones, you really want to cherish those moments. When you're spending time with those people you care about, your friends, your family, doing the things you enjoy, you really want to devote your attention to those moments at the same time too. So I definitely think having that balance is important.
Now, take me back to 2014, drafted by the Pittsburgh Penguins. Where were you? How did you get the news? And try to give us some insight of what that feeling was like when you got that news.
Yeah, so I guess there's one thing that people don't know about me. I tore my ACL halfway through my NHL draft year. So when I look at my NHL draft year in 2014, I kind of have to go back about a year because that definitely did play a big factor in what happened in the draft. And, I was having a decent year. It was a really tough year for me. I got sick for a couple of weeks. During that year, I injured my shoulder for a couple of weeks. I injured my knee before I tore my ACL. Then I came back from that knee injury and then I ended up tearing my ACL. So I only got about half of the season in. And at that point, with everything that happened, there was talks of whether I wasn't going to be drafted at all because of the injuries that I ended up having. So, I was really disappointed, really upsetting, because this is something that I worked towards my whole life, like that moment, getting drafted. So yeah, draft day came. I ended up going to the NHL Combine, and I could only do the upper body things, but people were impressed of how fast I recovered from my ACL injury so far, my ACL surgery. And so we got to the NHL draft day, and I was at home. I wanted to go to the draft, but with everything that happened, obviously there was talks about me potentially not getting drafted, so I didn't want my family to have to travel all the way to.
Right.
I think it was in New Jersey or Florida, or Philadelphia, one of the two. And so I stayed home and I was with family and friends. Asher was there. I do remember that. And second round went by, third round went by, fourth round went by, fifth round went by. I was getting upset. Kind of started losing hope, and fortunately, in the sixth round, Pittsburgh selected me in the draft. And that was almost like a dream come true. Like I still remember, I was looking on the iPad, seeing the names pull up. We had it on the TV too. Mm-hmm. And Pittsburgh was coming up next, and all of a sudden I saw my name pop up. And I didn't say anything. I kind of just froze. And then my mom saw it and just started screaming, and everyone started cheering. And it was unbelievable. Unbelievable experience. Unfortunately, I didn't get to participate in the rookie camp and May camp that year because I was still recovering from my ACL surgery. But the following year, I got to do that. I got to go to Maine camp with, Sidney Crosby and everything. I was on the ice there with them, and it was just an unbelievable experience that I'll never forget, to say the least.
You ever wake up some mornings and just be like, how did I get here?
Yeah. And that's one of the things. Like sometimes I look back at what I've accomplished, not to be complacent, like not to say that I'm happy with what I've accomplished and, that's it. But I do think you need to, sometimes when you're going through tough times and maybe you think you're not capable, sometimes you got to sit back and look at all the things I've accomplished that no one would have thought.
I mean, let's be real here. When it comes to being drafted by a pro team, whatever pro team it may be in any sport, 0.00001% of anybody on earth will ever be drafted to a pro team. Doesn't matter what sport it is.
Yeah, exactly. And you can look up the stats, and it's crazy how rare or how lucky you have to be drafted. So many players, and like you said, in whatever sport, to make it to that level. It's definitely a blessing. Definitely couldn't have done it without the support that's from my family and friends. My family definitely supported me. Like I remember when I was growing up in minor hockey, wasn't a game that went by where like my dad wasn't telling his friends and family to come out and support me. And like I'd always had a little like cheering section wherever I was in Ontario, and couldn't have done it without them. But yeah, it's been a long journey. Looking forward to the next journey too. But yeah, it's been awesome.
Tell me about some of the tough times that you've had playing hockey because you're a young Black hockey player. Have there been any incidents or things that have happened where people have tried to discourage you, whether it be fans, other players, said things, done things, that made you not want to particularly be a hockey player?
Yeah, I get this question a lot when I'm doing like stuff like this, like podcasts or interviews. And, we can go on and on about it, but the first actual experience that I had with racism in hockey, I want to say it was my first year of rep hockey, so I might have been like 7 or 8 years old. And I still remember to this day, there was a scrum in front of the net towards the end of the game, and a kid shoved me, and he called me a black ass. And at this point, it was the first time I've ever experienced like racism or anything. And I didn't really know how to react. I didn't say anything. I literally just started crying on the ice. I went to the bench, and I started crying on the bench, and people were asking me what happened. I didn't tell anyone. And then even in the dressing room, I kept crying. I didn't tell anyone because I wanted to tell my parents. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure if my mom was there, but I know my dad was there. And I went up to like the area where the parents wait for the kids, and I told my dad. And wasn't really the response that I expected. It was more of a, how can I say, he basically told me that, he wasn't happy that it happened, obviously. But he told me that this is the kind of thing that you may have to experience if you want to continue playing in this game. Obviously, we know hockey is a predominantly white sport, not a lot of diversity within the game. And he knew how much I love the game. And it was one of the things where he didn't want this sort of thing to discourage me from chasing my dreams. Mm-hmm. And that was almost like a life lesson to me. He kind of turned it from a negative experience to a life lesson, something that I carried along throughout my life for the rest, or till now. So I'm definitely grateful for that, learning experience. Obviously, no kid should ever have to endure that. But that's the reality of the world we live in. And unfortunately, that's the reality, especially, playing in a sport that's predominantly white. That's also something that we need to do within hockey. We need to change the culture of hockey. And that's something that I've also wanted to work towards with what I do outside of playing. I also kind of want to be an ambassador for the game. I want to, help inspire kids to play, minority players, girls, whatever race or culture you come from. I think the game should be enjoyed by whoever's capable of playing.
Do you think these hockey leagues are doing a better job of, supporting inclusion into the game?
I definitely think there's been improvement. I definitely think they've done more than they have in the past. Do I think that enough is being done? No, I don't. But I do think progress has been being made. There's things such as like the Hockey Diversity Alliance that started with a bunch of former NHL and current hockey players who, do outreach programs such as, providing equipment to underprivileged kids or, providing scholarships to people who may not be able to afford playing hockey because obviously it's an expensive sport. They work independently of the NHL, but seeing things like that, people who have made it to, play pro and who are inspiring, helping encourage younger players to play, definitely helps encourage the next generation coming up. And you look in the NHL today, we're starting to see more NHL players of color coming into the league, and it's something great for the league, something great for hockey overall. So I definitely do think that there has been improvements being made, but I definitely do think there's a lot more that needs to be done.
Which coach or player that you have been coached by or played with has had the biggest impact on you?
There's a lot of people. Like, I mean, it could start from like my minor hockey league coaches who gave me the opportunity to play rep hockey. After I got passed off with two other teams. Who knows if I didn't make that team, if I would have been where I am now. I mean, it could start with that. It could start in, people who helped me develop when I was, in junior. So I could talk about like Akeem Alou, who helped me develop. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but there was articles about him in the NHL being discriminated as a black hockey player. So I kind of trained with him growing up, and he definitely helped show me the ropes because he did play in the NHL. I talked about Jason Kane, the guy that I worked with, who coaches in the East Coast Hockey League. I can talk about CJ Bowlers, who was a minor hockey league coach. He coached a team called Skills Black Aces, which was a bunch of minority players, black players that got together and played minor hockey tournaments together. And, we dominated. It was awesome. Like, we have guys that played from that team that are in the NHL now. And, it's almost like we broke barriers, right? Mm-hmm. I could talk about my time here at Queen's University. I have an unbelievable coach here, and Brett Gibson. Definitely gave me one of the best experiences in my hockey career, especially winning the Queen's Cup 2 years ago. I can go on and on about people who supported me in my hockey career. I know I'm probably leaving out a couple people, but it's just that there's so many people who I could give props to and say thank you about getting me to where I am today. So, yeah.
What's something now you wish you knew when you were 18? If you can turn back the hands of time and speak to your former self, like what would you say to yourself?
I would definitely say to myself, keep inspiring younger individuals. I think that's one thing that almost gets, I think as you progress in hockey or in whatever you do, when you get a bigger platform, you want to continue to use that platform for good. And you want to keep inspiring younger players, people who have been through tough times. You want to keep giving back to the community, giving back to people who are maybe less fortunate, because I could definitely say that I was fortunate to have the people around me to support me and to help get me to where I am today. And not everybody has that opportunity. Not everybody has that support. So one thing I definitely say is, keep working hard, but, keep giving back to the community, because you don't want to be just recognized for what you've accomplished for the game. You want to be recognized for what you contributed to the game and to people's lives as well. So I think that's definitely a big thing. And, like I talked about LeBron James, he continuously gives back to the community, gives back to his people, the game of NBA, the black community. So that's kind of who I try to not model myself after. I mean, that's something crazy to model. That's a tall bar to reach. But, I try to take a lot of lessons that I learned from him and try to, use them in my own life as well. So, yeah.
So, Jaden, last question before we get out of here. Tell us a little bit about the documentary about you, Soul on Ice. Okay?
Yeah.
It is about to be on air February 19th, I believe. Do we know what network it's going to be on?
I'm pretty sure Sportsnet. It'll be on Sportsnet. And it's just before, I'm pretty sure it's a Hockey Night in Canada game. I think I might be wrong, but I think it might be Calgary and Edmonton. I'm not too sure. But yeah, Soul on Ice is a documentary that I've been incorporated in it's by Kwame Mason, a screenwriter. So it's a documentary that seeks to tell the lost history of Black contribution to hockey. For whatever reason, Blacks has had a contribution in hockey that's been untold. Like, not a lot of people know about it. So he did a great job in depicting that story, dating back to, 50, 100 years. Blacks have been playing hockey for hundreds of years, and they haven't been granted any credit for it. So the story talks about the history, but it also followed a current hockey player, which was me, that was, working towards a goal playing in the NHL. So it followed me throughout my OHL career and towards the NHL or my NHL draft day. So yeah, it gives a little bit about the past, the current, which was me, at that time, and then the future, which was another young black kid playing hockey. Nathaniel is his name, and you'll see him in the documentary as well. He's an unbelievable kid, unbelievable hockey player, and he'll definitely go far in his career. But yeah, he did a great job. It's been shown to the NHL. It's been shown in a lot of NHL cities. It's being shown on Sportsnet, as I said, on, I think it's Friday, February 19th. I think it's a Friday. So yeah, definitely if you have a moment, check it out. And I'll be on the panel afterwards on the show, talking with Ron McLean, who's a Sportsnet broadcaster, and doing the same thing we're doing, having a little conversation, talking about my experiences, and yeah, should be a great time.
Thank you, man. Really appreciate that. Everybody, Jaden Lindo, Canadian hockey player, currently playing for the Queens Gales men's hockey team. And just another quick question, like, what do you plan to do with it when it's all said and done? Have you ever thought about getting into broadcasting or anything like that?
I'm not sure yet. Still working towards that.
You do bring a very interesting dynamic and perspective to the game, right?
Yeah, I've definitely done a lot of interviews and podcasts like this in the past. I do enjoy them. I love telling the story, whether it helps inspire another child to play, continue hockey, or go through whatever they're going through. I do enjoy having these talks because I think there are talks that need to be said. I think people's experiences need to be told to help inspire other people and to help create change. So after it's all said and done, I think I'm going to continue doing these things. I want to continue working with Team Jamaica and hopefully work towards having Jamaica play in the Olympics one day. I think that'd be unbelievable.
That is amazing.
It would be crazy. And, we definitely have the talent to do it. A lot of players with Jamaican heritage or Caribbean heritage that, are playing at the highest level. So I think the world is, just like Cool Runnings and Jamaican bobsled team. Mm-hmm. I think it's along the similar path. Like, people will be, ecstatic to see what Jamaica can bring to the hockey world. So I want to continue working with that and hopefully playing a couple more tournaments that they have moving forward. But in the end, I just want to, like I said, continue giving back to the game, do what I can to help inspire other people and, to make a difference in my community. So, yeah.
Appreciate that. Jaden Lindo, thank you for taking the time to do this. And everybody who's going to be listening to this, please remember February 19th, Soul on Ice, only on Sportsnet. So make sure you put that on your calendars and hit that damn record button when it comes on that PVR. All right. Jaden, thank you so much for taking the time. I hope we get to do this again one day in person when this pandemic is over.
For sure. Appreciate it, Mikey. Thanks for having me. And thank you, OXP Media.